This is Francis Ferrugia welcoming you to tonight's WM Daily News. Thank you for joining us. Tragically, today an 8-year-old girl was found hanged in her bedroom, police have said. According to an ITN report, the girl was found at her home in Moore Street, Mansfield, Nottinghamshire, at about 9 a.m. on Saturday. Detective Superintendent Adrian Pearson said, "We are investigating the full circumstances of this death with our colleagues at Children and Young People's Services. Detectives have interviewed both the girl's parents, while a 5-year-old boy was also living at the address has been taken into local authority care. A post-mortem examination carried out on Saturday evening confirmed the cause of the death was hanging. Specialist police officers are working with social services at Nottinghamshire County Council to find out how the tragedy happened." The Israeli president is recovering in hospital after fainting on stage during a conference. Shimon Peres is under observation in the cardiology department of the Tel Hashoma Hospital in Tel Aviv. The 86-year-old has had tests but feels fine following the incident at the Yitzhak Rabin Center. His spokeswoman Ayelet Frisch said the president apparently suffered a drop in blood pressure. He is now fully functional and his personal doctor ran a series of tests which were normal. "We can relax now. I've spoken to him and he's fully conscious." The president's personal doctor, who was also his son-in-law, added, "It was very hot and he was standing for a long time and began to feel weak. He fainted for a few seconds. Now he feels fine, is smiling and is speaking on the phone to everyone." Mr. Peres will probably cancel some engagements because of the incident, Ms. Frisch said. It is not known whether he will be well enough to attend a scheduled meeting with U.S. envoy to the Middle East George Mitchell on Sunday. The Polish-born former Prime Minister is a veteran of Israeli left-of-centre politics, with a career going back before the founding of the Jewish state in 1948. As foreign minister along with Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat, Mr. Peres won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1994. Staying with the Middle East, Egypt's President Hosni Mubarak urged Israel to halt all settlement activity and warned of the dangers it posed in Jerusalem in talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Cairo on Sunday. Mubarak called on Israel to stop all settlement activity, including natural growth settlement, presidential spokesman Suleiman Awad said, amid renewed US-driven efforts to kickstart the stalled Middle East peace process. Prime Minister Netanyahu's brief visit came amid a renewed diplomatic push for peace as US Middle East envoy George Mitchell visited Israel. Mubarak called for negotiations on the final borders of a Palestinian state which would pave the way for an agreed on all final status issues with a defined time frame, Awad said. Both sides remain deeply divided on the most sensitive issues of their decades-old conflict: final borders, the status of Jerusalem, and the fate of Palestinian refugees and Jewish settlements. "I hope that we will succeed in reducing the gaps," Netanyahu said at the weekly cabinet meeting in Jerusalem earlier on Sunday. "Maybe we will bridge them so that we can move the process forward." Egypt and the United States hope to see a resumption of negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians, suspended since the conflict in the Gaza Strip at the turn of the year. Arab countries have said normalization will only come after substantive peace talks or a settlement to the conflict, and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas insists he will not meet Netanyahu before a complete end to settlement construction. Tens of thousands of people have taken part in a protest against President Barack Obama's plans to reform healthcare in the United States. The demonstrators carried placards with slogans which accused the president of leading America towards socialism with his proposals for government-run insurance to ensure the entire population has medical cover. They marched from the White House to the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C., chanting, "Enough, enough, and we the people." Some of the signs showed Mr. Obama with an Adolf Hitler-type moustache and as the Joker from the Batman films. The protest was organized by the conservative organization Freedom Works Foundation, which campaigns for lower taxes, less government, and more economic freedom for Americans. A 12-year-old child bride has died after struggling to give birth to a baby for 3 days, a human rights organization in Yemen has said. Fauzia Abdullah Youssef suffered severe bleeding while giving birth to a stillborn infant in Hodeidah province, 140 miles west of the capital Sana'a on Friday. She was only 11 when her father married her to a 24-year-old man who works as a farmer in Saudi Arabia, according to Ahmed al-Kurisha from the SIA organization, which promotes the rights of children in Yemen. He said he stumbled upon Fauzia in the Al-Zara district hospital while investigating cases of youngsters who had fled from fighting in the north of the country. This is one of many cases that exist in Yemen, Mr. Al-Kurisha said. The reason behind it is the lack of education and awareness, forcing many girls into marriage in this very early age. Child marriages are common in Yemen, the poorest country in the Arab world, where tribal customs dominate society. Poor parents sometimes give away their young daughters in exchange for large dowries, Mr. Al-Kurisha said. There is also a long-standing tradition in which infants are promised to their cousins in an attempt to protect them from illicit relationships, he added. The country's parliament passed a law in February which set the minimum age for marriage at 17, but it was sent back to a constitutional committee for review after some MPs described it as un-Islamic. Finally, in sport, leading man arrives in Atlanta, Gonzalez. Ryan outshines Finns. For the Atlanta Falcons, Sunday's 19-7 win against the Miami Dolphins represented a tone-setting deposit toward ending one of the NFL's stranger anomalies. The Falcons have yet to experience consecutive winning seasons as they enter their 44th year. For 10-time Pro Bowl tight end Tony Gonzalez, his Falcons debut, 5 catches for 73 yards and a touchdown, was a positive step toward an ending he envisioned when the Falcons acquired him from the Kansas City Chiefs for a 2010 second-round pick 2 days before the April draft. This ends tonight's broadcast. Thank you for joining us.